our friend Richard Medhurst found out something pretty interesting, and most of the prime ministers of Israel changed their name because they didn't sound Middle Eastern enough. You think I'm kidding? Let's watch a little bit of this.
I show you what I'm about to show you, your mind will be blown. You're going to be blindsided. Every single Israeli prime minister has a fake name. Did you know that? I was just talking about Ben Gurion. Do you know what his original name is? It's Gruen. Gruen. He changed it to make it sound more Jewish and sound more Middle Eastern. Do you know what Netanyahu's real name is? It's not Netanyahu, it's Milkovsky. I swear to God, go and look it up. You'll find Milkovsky. That's his real name. These are, remember what Israelis are. Israelis are European Jews. They don't come from Palestine. But they want you to make you believe. They want to make believe and make you believe that they come from this area, that they are indigenous to the land, that they're so Jewish, right? Even though they have no connection. So they changed their names. Here's another one. Moshe Sharat, his name is Chertok originally. You've got Levi Eshkol. Eshkol was Shklonik. So he changed it from Shklonik to Eshkol. Then you have Yigal Alon. His original name, Peikovitz. Golda Meir, Israel's first female prime minister. Her real name is not Golda Meir, it's Mabovich. Mabovich.
Golda my ass.
More like mad bitch. We have Yitzhak Rabin, right? His name is not Rabin, it's Rubitsov. Are you seeing the pattern? These are Eastern European names. Not Palestinian, not Jewish, not Middle Eastern. They're Eastern European, okay? They're not Palestinian. They don't come from this region. Yitzhak Shamir. He's a great one. You know, Yitzhak Shamir, he's on the wanted poster because he was wanted by the British police in Palestine for terrorism. But they don't tell you that. So Yitzhak Shamir, his original name is Yezernitsky. Yezernitsky. Shimon Peres, Persky. Netanyahu, I already told you, Malikovsky. I think I said Milkovsky, excuse me. It's Malikovsky. Never, you know, it's the same point. Ehud Barak is Brog. So B-R-O-G. Brog. He changed it to Barak. Ariel Sharon. His original name is Shinerman. Shinerman. He changed it to Sharon. And Yair Lapid, who's you still see him changing posts. His original name is Lampel. So he changed it from Lampel to Lapid.
So let me bring in George Galloway. Now, you know something about this, and you also know something about the creation of the Israeli state. And, you know, people say, well, it came from the Balfour Declaration, and people use that to justify the Israeli state. Could you talk about why that's not a justification?
Well, hardly. It was the first and I think the only instance in history when one people granted to a second people the land that belonged to a third people. And in the era of colonialism, we didn't even possess it as a colony at the time. It was a part of the Ottoman Empire. It was not ours to give away, but we gave it away to a group of European colonial Jews. They never made any secret of that. They met in Basel in the late 19th century, but they met many times in the United States, in Baltimore and many other places. The newspaper headlines are extant in which they described themselves as a Jewish colonial movement. And they were begging the British Empire to give them somewhere, anywhere, that they could found their Zionist settler state in. And they were in advanced talks with the British Empire about Uganda, about the Seychelles. They negotiated very seriously to have their state in Argentina, in Patagonia. That would have given rise to a different kind of PLO in the years to come. They were ready to found their settler state everywhere. They saw these white Europeans building settler colonial states in Australia, in Canada, in South Africa, Rhodesia, and so on. They wanted a piece of the action. It was only later that they invented ex post facto a religious justification for building their state in Palestine. As a matter of fact, all the leaders of the early Zionist movement were atheists. They didn't believe in God, but they believed that God gave them Palestine. It's a monstrous fabrication that a moment's study, 25 minutes of study will give you the whole antecedent of this thing. So they arrived in a country which already had people living in it. It was called Palestine. The people living in it were Palestinians. They were mainly Muslim, but a very substantial number were Christian. And there were even a considerable number of Jews who had always lived there, who had never been scattered across the world and then hunted by pogrom and witch hunt. The Jews in Palestine lived in amity with the Christians and Muslims there. Suddenly, millions of European Jews that neither the United States nor Europe wanted to take. These were people straight out of the Holocaust. But the doors of the United States and Great Britain and France were slammed shut in their faces, and they were told to go to Palestine. And they took other people's land, other people's houses, other people's farms, orchards, and the people who owned these properties and lived there for millennia were turned into refugees over a very short period of time. In the end, almost 1 million of them were driven out of the country altogether, and the remainder became second, third-class citizens in their own country, living in refugee camps. So in a place like Jenin, for example, you'll have heard of it, Jenin, Jenin, there's a big refugee camp there. And from that refugee camp, the inmates of what is effectively a concentration camp can see their own houses being lived in by Jewish people who came from New York, who came from Moscow or London or Paris. They can see people who've just arrived as immigrants picking their oranges off their trees in the gardens of their homes, whilst they live now 3 generations, 4 generations in squalor, regularly visited by extreme violence from settlers and from the Israeli state themselves. It is the reason I've spent 50 years in this cause is not because I set out to do so, but because I went there 50 years ago, and what I saw there affected me so much, I consider it would be a moral betrayal not to speak out about it, not to tell other people about it, so that we might find at least some modicum of justice. This is the very day, Jimmy, in which the Camp David Accords were signed in Washington between Sadat, the Egyptian president, Begin, a former terrorist, Prime Minister of Israel, under the auspices of Jimmy Carter, signed on the lawn of your White House. And that Camp David Accord was supposed to lead to peace and amity and a modicum of justice for the Palestinian people and an end to Israeli occupation of other people's territories. And of course, none of that has happened. Everything has gotten worse. I've been in this 50 years. This is the worst moment I have experienced. 300 kids in 51 minutes. I mean, that breaks all records.